Hi, Glenn here, Monster Guitars. I have been depriving you. I know the channel has been very quiet, positively dead. I don't think you can be positively dead, but it's been very quiet, like the grave. That's because, as you probably know, I've moved house and I've moved into a new workshop which is not set up yet. The building work to extend this garage is underway. On the outside you would see there's excavation and there's been a sub-base and the concrete's going down and things are going to happen and so on, and that's great. But in the meantime you're missing out, and I'm very sorry about that. So what I'm going to do is release some footage of projects that I have started. I started them in the old workshop in Upper Hutt, and they will be finished at some point in this workshop when things are set up, but they're not yet. One of them you've seen, the SG. I'm just going to finish up some of the finishing work on that, and then that will be done, but I can't do that until this place is finished. And another one is this fun creation, which I'll show you about now. We are out the front of the Monster Guitars workshop because it's kind of busy in there at the moment, and got this nice old, I say nice old, it doesn't look nice now, this old beam of tortura. It's from the same batch of wood as the guitar made from junk, as I called it some time ago now. And I've begun the somewhat arduous and fiddly task of getting nails out of it. There's our cat, Thatcher, or one of the cats. So we'll see what I can get from this. Maybe it'll be a winner, maybe it won't. Alright, I've got all the obvious nails out. There will still be some in there, and I'll need to do some more cleaning up. But I've got something to work with here. Definitely. I picked my spot carefully where I cut it, knowing that there were no nails there, and as I'm scraping off the gunge, I'm uncovering yet more bits of metal in here. So it's going to be a little bit labor intensive. I'm trying to think about how rustic I want to leave this. Obviously there's plenty of room here for making it look very rustic, or I may just completely clean it up. We'll see. So that has exposed a few more nails to dig out. Once I've dug those out, I'll be able to get a bit more serious with shaping this. There's one of my cats. Okay, what progress have I made? Well, I've cleaned it up quite a bit. I've put it through the drum sander a few times, front and back, and that has exposed all the remaining nails, which I have now removed. Then I put it through the thicknesser. I can see I'm going to have some nice wood here, but there is a substantial split, and it runs all the way through to that edge. It's not as bad there, but it's pretty bad. I could try and glue the whole thing together. I don't know if I want to do that. On this side of the split, though, it's about 170 mils. Well, by the time I've made it nice and tidy, I've got about 150 millimeters of usable width. If I resawed this piece, which I could, that would only give me a body that's 300 wide. Not quite wide enough for a guitar body, but I could laminate another piece down the middle. That would work. That would work. Yeah, I'll probably end up doing that. That piece is quite messy, but there is, once I cut that surface off, some usable wood in there. I'll use that in another body maybe. Yeah, I think I'll do that. That will do for today. The sun is gone from the sky, kind of, getting there. I'll put all my stuff away. So what did I do? Well, I decided to put a laminated strip down the middle, made from some pieces of rimu that I had from another piece of work. Was it another guitar? Could be. I don't even remember. I'm getting old. and some pieces of Tawa floorboard that I cut up. Obviously it's not the right thickness at the moment, but this is now just over 400 millimeters. By the time I've machined the edges of, well, jointed the edges there, that'll come down slightly, but that's going to be much wider than I need, which is good. I'll probably be able to, well, I'll definitely be able to lose those larger holes, which is probably a good thing. The workshop is in a state of flux just now. But there it is. There's this top being glued up on the floor. It came from a very rough beam, as you saw. Sometimes the end result is still quite rough and rustic, just because of all the features, nearly holes and bits of damage in the top, and that could look quite nice. In fact, I can see that that will remain because there are these holes quite close to the middle. But I think this is going to make something interesting. And here we are. The raw materials exist, but the final form has not been decided. This is just one of a limitless number of possibilities. It probably won't end up being this one. This is just to give myself an idea of what I'm dealing with. Is this the most crucial part of the build process? Kind of, because the most crucial part of the build process, I remain convinced, does not happen here. It happens here, in your head. Planning is everything, and imagining what you can do with what you have, which is what I'm doing just now. For the body that will sit behind this rather cool looking top, I've got these, I almost said very recycled because they're quite rough, but of course it's either recycled or it's not. These recycled pieces of quite rough looking Rimu, they're only rough because they were used in, I don't know, floor trusses or something, so they didn't need to look pretty. But I want them to look pretty, so Eric here, I think, will make short work of these. I've already put one of them, or one of the faces across, and it has come up very nice indeed, as I thought it would. We're just embarrassingly blessed here in New Zealand with the native woods that are available and how nice they look. But that's one of the ways Rimu can look. It can look all sorts of ways depending on the piece, and whether it's heartwood or sapwood. But yeah. Alright, let's make these two pieces into a nice body blank. So one of the pitfalls of using recycled wood is, well, sometimes it's not in great condition, and you can't always tell until you scrape beneath the surface. This is a beautiful piece of wood. One of these pieces of Rimu, the other one's fine. But there are lots of old bug holes. I gather this is from a borer beetle or something similar. I don't think there's anything still live in here now. In fact, I'm quite sure there isn't. But on both sides there are quite a few holes, and it would be right to surmise that they go all the way through, and it's a shame because it really is a beautiful piece of wood. But I will just pick out a new piece and proceed. This one I think will just be firewood. I will. Like so. I'm forever saying I'm going to tidy my bench up, maybe one day. There are actually parts for a couple of guitars in small boxes down there, so maybe once I get some guitars finished and out of the workshop, that will ease the pain. Right, where were we? Okay, so as you may recall, I chose a different piece of Rimu to use for half of the body because the first piece had borer holes in it and was not very sound looking. As a result, I now have two pieces of Rimu that are slightly different colours. Rimu is very variable in the colour and the intensity of the grain, depending on a lot of things, like what part of the tree it comes from and how much resin is in that piece. But that's okay. I don't mind that. I've routed for the cables, created the control cavity which will sit under the top. That nail hole, or two, that go all the way through, that's one of the things about recycled timber. It can actually look quite nice and rustic, and I may leave it visible on the back because, well, why not? It's my way of virtue signaling that I'm using recycled material. But just there, it may give me some trouble. I haven't quite yet decided what sort of bridge I'm going to use, but that may get in the way of, I don't know, maybe screws or posts. So I will drill and plug it on this side just to be extra safe. Step 1, drill a 15mm hole. Step 2, somewhat abbreviated, use a plug cutter to cut out a 15mm plug. I haven't worried about the grain orientation because it's going to be hidden under the top. Put some glue in, hammer that sucker in and sand it flat. And now proceed. And that's what it's going to look like. That's what it's going to look like. The environment has suddenly changed. I'll be saying that in a few of these in a few videos that you'll be seeing before too long, because I've got a number of guitar projects that I've started recording. I started recording them in the old workshop at the old address, and I will finish them in this workshop, so there will be a sudden switch to a new environment. The environment will not really be like this. It's quite cluttered and not unpacked. Yes, unpacked, not unpacked. I will unpack and set things up properly once the building extension is completed. It has begun on the outside, but yeah, it's got some time to go yet. So, once that has been done, I will continue with this guitar. Now, guitars are fun and guitars are cool, but here's a slightly more solemn note. You will recall Thatcher, the Ginger Tom, the cat that you saw in an early clip in this video when I was just initially prepping and selecting the timber. Well, alas, Thatcher is no longer with us. He had some health problems and is not in the land of the living anymore. And we were all rather glum about that. I say were because it was quite some time ago now. This video has taken a while to produce. I think I put the date on the first clip, so you'll see that. But to belatedly mark the passing of Thatcher, this video is in his honour. Rest in peace, Thatcher.